That night, Junho was finally allowed to bring Rex back to his the field trip to mining Moon Talus 7 was supposed to be routine. 20 students and 3 professors would spend the day studying rare mineral formations in ancient lava tubes. The moon was stable, well-mapped, and considered completely safe. Junho had not wanted to leave Rex behind, but dogs were still not allowed on official academy trips. He left Rex with Minho, who promised to take good care of him. As the transport ship left the station, Junho looked back at the window where Minho and Rex watched. The dog's tail was down, unhappy about being left. "He will be fine," Soman said, sitting next to Junho. She had become friendlier after meeting Rex. It is just one day. The mining moon was beautiful in its own way. Red rock stretched toward a purple sky. The gravity was lower than standard, making every step feel bouncy and strange. Professor Velric led the group toward the largest lava tube, explaining the geological forces that had formed it millions of years ago. They were deep inside the cave system when it happened. The ground shook. Not much at first, just a small tremor, but Professor Velric's scales immediately turned white. "Everyone out, now. That should not have happened. This moon is geologically dead." They started moving toward the exit, but the shaking got worse. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Yuna's crystalline body rang like a bell with each impact. Students screamed in a dozen different languages. Then, with a sound like thunder, the entrance collapsed. Dust filled the air. Emergency lights flickered on, casting strange shadows. When the shaking finally stopped, everyone took stock. 15 students had made it out before the collapse, but 5 students and Professor Velric were trapped inside, including Yuna, Karis, Horval, and 2 others. Junho had been near the back of the group. He was trapped. The group near the exit immediately called for help. But the news was bad. The rescue teams were 10 hours away. The closest ship with proper equipment was even further. And according to the scanners, the collapsed section was unstable. Any attempt to dig through might cause another collapse. Worse, the air supply was limited. With 6 beings trapped, they had maybe 8 hours of breathable air, possibly less depending on how much everyone panicked. Inside the cave, Professor Velric was trying to keep everyone calm. But Horval was having trouble breathing. His species needed specific humidity levels, and the dry cave air was making him sick. Karis kept flying up to the ceiling in panic, his wings buzzing frantically. Yuna's crystalline body had several cracks from falling rocks, and she was losing light. Junho sat against the wall, thinking hard. They could not wait 10 hours. By the time rescue arrived, some of them might be dead. "We need to find another way out," he said. "There is no other way," Professor Velric replied. "The maps show this cave system is sealed. Maps can be wrong. Maybe there is a crack or a passage that was missed. And how do you propose we find it in the dark with limited time?" Junho did not answer. He was thinking about Rex, about how dogs could smell things humans could not, about how they could hear sounds beyond human range, about how they navigated complex environments using senses humans did not possess. Back at the station, Minho was watching the emergency broadcasts with growing horror. Rex sat at his feet, whining softly. The dog knew something was wrong. "I wish you could help," Minho said to Rex, "but they are on a moon. There is no way to get you there." Then Yunji burst into the room. "Minho, I have an idea. It is crazy, but it might work." "What?" "The emergency services have a small fast response ship here at the station. It can reach the moon in 90 minutes. They are not sending it because they do not have the right equipment on board. So we give them the right equipment." "We give them Rex," Minho stared at her. "You want to send a dog on a rescue mission to another moon? Search and rescue is what dogs were bred for, right?" Yunyo said so in his presentation, and Rex has been trained for it. I checked Junho's records. Rex is certified in search and rescue back on Earth. But the gravity, the atmosphere, the terrain. Earth is harsher than that moon. If any creature can handle it, an Earth dog can. Minho looked at Rex, who was staring up at him with those intelligent brown eyes. "This is insane. Do you have a better idea?" 20 minutes later, they were presenting the plan to Dean Harmon. The dean listened, his watery form rippling with what might have been doubt. "You want to send the dog. The same dog that nearly attacked Professor Velric. You want to put him in a fast response ship and hope he can find the trapped students." "He can," Yunji said firmly. "Dogs have been doing search and rescue on Earth for thousands of years. In earthquakes, avalanches, collapsed buildings, this is what they do." "And you will pilot the ship?" Dean Harmon asked Minho. Yes. Someone needs to go with Rex. He trusts me, and I have basic pilot training. Dean Harmon was silent for a long moment. If this fails, if that dog causes any problems, the consequences will be severe. And if we do nothing, 6 beings will die, Yoonji countered. Go. But Minho, you are responsible for that animal. If he cannot do the job, you bring him back immediately. The fast response ship was small and cramped. Rex did not like space travel, but he settled down when Minho put a hand on his head. They made the 90-minute journey in tense silence. When they landed on the moon, Minho suited Rex up in a special harness that Yoonji had modified. It would protect the dog from the thin atmosphere and help regulate his temperature. Then Minho put on his own suit, attached a long lid to Rex's harness, and opened the ship. The moon's surface was chaos. Emergency workers were everywhere, trying to stabilize the collapsed entrance. When they saw Minho and Rex, several of them stopped working. What is that? That is our rescue team, Minho said. Take me to the collapse site. The emergency coordinator, a being made of crystallized light, was skeptical. We have scanners. We have drones. What can that creature do that our technology cannot? He can smell, Minho said simply. He can detect things your scanners miss. Now are you going to let him work? Or are you going to explain to Dean Harmon why you refused help? They were led to the collapsed entrance. Rex immediately started sniffing the ground, his nose working overtime. The lower gravity made him move strangely, but he adapted quickly. Then his ears perked up. He had caught something. A scent or a sound that no one else could detect. He started pulling Minho toward the right, away from where everyone was digging. He is going the wrong way, someone said. Let him work, Minho replied. Rex led them around the collapse, his nose to the ground. He was tracking something. After 10 minutes of following the dog, they reached an area of loose rocks. Rex started digging, his powerful front leg sending stones flying. Stop him, the coordinator said. He is going to cause another collapse. Wait, Minho said. Look, where Rex was digging, air was flowing out. Very faint, barely detectable, but definitely there. This meant there was a connection to the cave system. A crack or passage that the scanners had missed. Get equipment here now, the coordinator ordered, suddenly urgent. It took 30 minutes to carefully clear the area Rex had found, and there it was. A narrow chimney leading down into the cave system. Too small for most adults, but large enough for Rex. I'm going to send him down, Minho said. He can find the trapped students and lead us to them. How will we know where he is? His harness has a tracker. Follow the signal. Minho knelt down next to Rex. Okay, boy. Find Junho, find. Rex hesitated only a moment. Then he squeezed into the narrow passage and disappeared into the darkness. Inside the cave, Junho was getting worried. The air was getting thin. Horval had passed out. Yuna was barely glowing. They were running out of time. Then he heard it, barking. Faint but unmistakable. Rex, he said, not believing it. The barking got louder. Then impossibly, Rex appeared from a crack in the wall that Junho had not even noticed. The dog was dirty and panting, but his tail was wagging like crazy. How did you get here? Junho laughed, hugging Rex despite his spacesuit making it awkward. Rex barked and started pulling on Junho's suit, trying to lead him somewhere. He found a way out. Junho realized. Everyone follow the dog. They squeezed through the narrow passage, helping each other, carrying the unconscious Horval. It was tight and scary, but Rex kept barking encouragement, leading them upward. When they finally emerged onto the moon's surface, rescue teams were waiting. Medical staff immediately took care of Horval. Professor Velric collapsed with relief. Yuna's cracks were quickly sealed, and Junho fell to his knees, hugging Rex, not caring that everyone was watching. Good boy, he said, his voice cracking with emotion. Such a good boy. Rex licked his face, his whole body wiggling with joy. He had found his human. That was all that mattered. The coordinator approached Minho. I apologize for doubting you. That animal saved 6 lives today. He is not just an animal, Minho replied. He is a partner. That is what humans have been trying to tell you. When they returned to the station, news of the rescue had already spread. Students lined the docking bay, cheering as Rex walked out. The dog that they had feared, that they had wanted banned, had just proven his worth in the most dramatic way possible. Professor Velric knelt down to Rex's level. The dog watched him calmly, no longer seeing a threat. Thank you, the professor said quietly. You saved my life. Rex's tail wagged. That night, the Galactic Council held an E. The questions lasted for over 2 hours. Some students were genuinely curious. Others tried to catch Junho in contradictions or prove that humans were dangerous. By the time Dean Harmon finally ended the session, Junho's throat was dry and his head ached. But something had changed. He could feel it. The fear was still there, but now there was curiosity too. Students who had avoided him in the halls now gave him small nods. A few even smiled. 3 days after his presentation, Junho received an unexpected message. Professor Velric wanted to see him in his office. Junho's stomach tightened. Was this going to be more trouble? He walked across campus alone. Rex was still in his special housing, only allowed out when Junho was in private spaces. It felt wrong being separated from his companion. Back on Earth, Rex had gone everywhere with him. Now the dog spent most of his time alone, waiting. Professor Velric's office was filled with specimens and artifacts from 100 worlds. The walls were lined with images of extinct and living creatures. The professor sat behind his desk, his scales a neutral green color. Sit. Human Junho, the professor said. Junho sat, waiting for whatever punishment or lecture was coming. I have been thinking about your presentation, Professor Velric began, and about what happened in my classroom. I believe I owe you an explanation. This was not what Junho expected. Sir, my species, the Saurian, were once like yours. 3 million years ago, we lived on a harsh world. We had predators. We struggled to survive, and we formed bonds with other species to help us. The professor pulled up a holographic image. It showed a creature that looked like a cross between a dog and a lizard. This was called a Karash. They were pack hunters, intelligent and deadly. My ancestors domesticated them. They protected our settlements. They helped us hunt. They were loyal companions. What happened to them? Junho asked. We changed them, Professor Velric said, and there was sadness in his voice. Over millions of years, we used genetic engineering to make them smaller, gentler, safer. We removed their aggression. We removed their hunting instinct. We made them perfect companions. He pulled up another image. This showed a small, round creature that looked harmless and cute. This is what the Karash became. We call them soft wings now. They cannot survive without us. They cannot hunt. They cannot protect themselves. They are completely dependent on us for everything. Junho looked at the two images side by side, the proud hunter and the helpless pet. You made them weak. We made them safe, Professor Velric corrected. Or so we thought. But in making them safe, we lost something. The bond changed. They do not choose to stay with us. They cannot leave. They were designed to need us. The professor deactivated the holograms and looked directly at Junho. When I saw Rex, I was afraid. I saw what we used to have and what we chose to give up. Your dog has the power to harm, but he chooses not to. Our creatures cannot harm us, but they also cannot choose. I am not sure which is worse. Why are you telling me this? Junho asked. Because I judged you unfairly. I thought your species was primitive for keeping predators close. But perhaps we are the ones who lost something important. Perhaps in seeking perfect safety, we gave up authentic connection. Before Junho could respond, there was a knock on the door. Solman, the felony student, peeked inside. Professor, is this a bad time? You said I could stop by. Come in, Professor Velric gestured. Actually, your timing is perfect. Solman entered, her feline features showing nervousness. She looked at Junho. I hope I am not interrupting. Not at all, the professor said. In fact, I wanted to propose something. Solman has expressed interest in learning more about Earth's domestication practices. Specifically, she wants to meet Rex properly. Junho blinked in surprise. Really? I know I screamed when I first saw him, Solman admitted, her ears flattening with embarrassment. But after your presentation, I could not stop thinking about it. My species evolved from ambush predators. We used to be dangerous too before we joined galactic civilization. Maybe that is why I feel curious instead of just scared. I think this could be educational for everyone, Professor Velric said. With proper precautions and supervision, would you be willing to demonstrate Rex's training? To show us what a true bond with an Earth creature looks like? Junho's heart leaped. Yes, absolutely yes, they arranged it for the next day. A controlled environment, a small audience of volunteers only. No weapons, no security forcing Rex into a corner. Just a chance to show what Rex really was when he was not being treated as a threat. Junho went to the special housing facility that evening. Rex heard him coming and started barking excitedly. When Junho entered, the dog jumped up, putting his paws on Junho's chest, tail wagging so hard his whole back half wiggled. "Hey, boy," Junho said, scratching behind Rex's ears. "I missed you too." He sat on the floor and Rex immediately lay down beside him, resting his massive head on Junho's lap. They sat like that for a long time, just being together. Junho told Rex about everything that had happened, even though the dog could not understand the words. But Rex understood the tone, the emotion. His brown eyes watched Junho's face, tracking every expression. "Tomorrow is important," Junho said. "We need to show them what you really are. Can you do that? Can you be a good boy?" Rex's tail thumped against the floor. Junho laughed. "I will take that as a yes." The next day, Junho brought Rex to a training facility normally used for xenobiology practical exercises. About 20 students had volunteered to attend, including Soman, Yuna, and even Karis. Professor Velric was there, along with Yunji and Minho. Dean Harmon watched from a viewing window above. Rex walked calmly at Junho's side, his leash loose. He looked around at all the strange beings, his ears up and alert, but he showed no aggression. "Okay," Junho said. "Let me show you some basic commands." He put Rex through his paces. Sit, stay, down, heel, come. Rex obeyed every command immediately, his focus entirely on Junho. The students watched in fascination. "Now watch this," Junho said. He placed a treat on the floor in front of Rex. "Leave it." Rex stared at the treat, his nose twitching. It was clearly difficult for him. Every instinct told him to eat it, but he sat still, waiting. "Good boy," Junho said. "Okay, take it." Rex snatched up the treat, "You see?" Junho explained. "He could take the treat any time. I am not strong enough to stop him. But he waits because he trusts me. He knows if he listens, good things happen." "Can he protect?" Karis asked, his insect voice clicking nervously. "Yes, Minho, can you help?" Minho walked forward, and they acted out a scenario they had practiced many times. Minho pretended to threaten Junho, raising his voice and making aggressive gestures. Immediately, Rex stood up, positioning himself between Junho and Minho. His ears went back and a low growl rumbled in his chest. The student stepped back nervously, but Junho remained calm. "Rex, it is okay." "Friend?" The growling stopped immediately. Rex's ears came forward and his tail started to wag. He even walked over to Minho and sniffed his hand. "He understands context," Junho explained. "He knows when there is real danger and when it is just play or misunderstanding. This is not programming. This is intelligence and judgment. May I try?" Soman asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She stepped forward slowly, her feline features showing both fear and determination. "Are you sure?" Junho asked. "Yes. If I am going to be a xenobiologist, I cannot be afraid of every creature that has teeth." Junho gave her careful instructions. "Move slowly. Let Rex sniff your hand first. Do not stare directly into his eyes. Speak softly." Salmon approached Rex. The dog watched her, his tail lowering slightly. He was uncertain about this strange being that smelled like a predator. But when Junho said, "Friend Rex, be gentle," the dog relaxed. Soman held out her hand. Rex sniffed it carefully, taking in her scent. Then, satisfied she was not a threat, he sat down and looked up at her calmly. "Can I touch him?" Soman whispered. "Yes." Pet his head or scratch behind his ears. Soman reached out with one trembling hand and touched Rex's fur. Her eyes widened. "He is so warm and soft." Rex leaned into her touch, enjoying the attention. His tail started to wag. "He likes you," Junho said, smiling. Soman laughed, a sound of pure delight. She knelt down, getting closer, and Rex licked her face. She jumped back in surprise, then laughed again. "He kissed me." "That means he accepts you," Junho explained. Dogs lick to show affection. Other students started to move closer, their fear replaced by curiosity. One by one, Junho introduced them to Rex. Some were too scared to touch him, but they watched from a safe distance. Others, like Soman, discovered the simple joy of petting a dog. Yuna's crystalline body chimed with pleasure when Rex's tail wagged near her, creating small musical tones. Karis was fascinated by how Rex's ears moved independently, tracking sounds. Even Professor Velric cautiously reached out to touch Rex's fur, his scales shifting to a warm amber color. "I understand now," the professor said quietly. "This bond you speak of, I can feel it. He is not just obeying you, he is choosing to be here. Yes, Junho said. That is exactly it. As the session ended and students filed out, talking excitedly, Somin stayed behind. Thank you, she said to Junho. You changed how I see things. I always thought domestication was about control, but it is really about partnership, is it not? Yes, Junho agreed. It is about two species deciding to face the world together. They want to determine if humans should be allowed to bring such creatures off-planet. You want to ban dogs from space? Junho could. The auditorium was packed. Word had spread across the entire academy about the human and his predator. Students from every department had come to see what all the fear was about. Some were curious. Others were scared. A few were angry that Junho had been allowed to keep Rex at all. Junho stood backstage reviewing his presentation notes for the 100th time. Yoonji stood beside him offering last-minute advice. Remember to speak slowly, she said. Your accent is thick to alien ears, and do not let them provoke you. Some students will try to make you angry. I know, Junho said. His hands were shaking slightly. He had given presentations before, but never to an audience this large. Never with so much at stake. Where is Rex? Yoonji asked. In his special housing like they ordered. I wanted to bring him, but Junho trailed off. It is probably better this way. Let them see the data first. Let them understand before they see him again. Dean Harmon appeared in the wings. It is time, human Junho. Are you ready? As ready as I can be. Junho walked onto the stage. The lights were bright, making it hard to see the audience, but he could hear them. Whispers in a dozen languages. Clicking, chirping, humming. The sounds of species from across the galaxy. All gathered to judge him and his world. He took a deep breath and began. Thank you for coming. My name is Junho, and I am from Earth. Today I want to tell you about how my species learned to survive on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. The screen behind him lit up with an image of Earth from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. It looked peaceful and beautiful. This is my home. Most of you know it as a death world. You are correct. Earth has killed more humans than any war or disease ever could. The planet itself is our greatest enemy. He clicked to the next image. A hurricane swirling across an ocean. Lightning splitting the sky. Earthquakes tearing cities apart. We have weather that can destroy entire cities in hours. We have natural disasters that strike without warning. We have temperature ranges from 50 degrees below zero to 50 degrees above. Many of you would die just from breathing our air for too long. Some students shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward with interest. But it is not just the planet. It is the life on it. The next images showed Earth's predators. Lions, tigers, bears, crocodiles, sharks, each one capable of killing a human with ease. These creatures evolved alongside humans. We competed for food and territory. They hunted us. We hunted them. For millions of years, Earth was a battlefield where only the smartest and strongest survived. He paused, letting them absorb that. So how did humans win? How did we become the dominant species? Junho clicked to the next slide. It showed a human and a wolf side by side, hunting together. We cheated. We made friends. Confused sounds rippled through the audience. Junho smiled slightly. Humans realized we could not beat every predator alone. We were not the fastest. We were not the strongest. We did not have claws or fangs or venom. But we had something else. We had the ability to communicate, to plan, to cooperate, and we realized that other species had these abilities too. He showed images of early humans and wolves working together. 40,000 years ago, some wolves started following human tribes. They ate our leftover food. In return, they warned us of danger. They had better senses than we did. They could smell threats we could not detect. They could hear sounds we could not hear. Slowly, over thousands of years, wolves and humans became partners. The next slide showed the evolution from wolf to dog, the changes in skull shape, size, behavior. We did not force them to change. We did not use genetic engineering. We simply lived together, and both species adapted. The friendliest wolves stayed closer to humans. They had more puppies. Those puppies were also friendly. Over generations, wolves became dogs. They became smaller, more gentle, more bonded to humans. But they kept their teeth, someone called out from the audience. It sounded like Vesh, the prosecutor. Yes, Junho agreed. They kept their teeth. They kept their strength. They kept their protective instincts. Because we needed those things. A weak companion is useless on a death world. We needed partners who could fight when necessary, who could protect when needed, who could work alongside us in dangerous conditions. He showed videos of modern dogs, search and rescue dogs finding people buried in rubble, guide dogs leading blind humans through busy streets, therapy dogs comforting sick children in hospitals, police dogs tracking criminals, farm dogs protecting sheep from predators. Dogs do not just keep us company, they save our lives. Every single day, somewhere on Earth, a dog saves a human. They pull us from burning buildings. They alert us to medical emergencies before we know we are sick. They find us when we are lost in the wilderness. They defend us from threats. And what do you give them in return? Professor Velric asked from the front row. His voice was curious now, not hostile. Everything, Junho said simply. We give them food, shelter, medical care. We play with them. We talk to them. We love them. When they die, we grieve. Many humans consider their dogs to be members of their family. Not servants, not tools, family. He showed a picture of his own family back on Earth. His parents, his younger sister, and Rex as a puppy, all sitting together and smiling. This is my family. Rex has been with us since I was 12 years old. He was there when I graduated school. He was there when my grandmother died and I cried for days. He was there when I got accepted to this academy. He is not my pet. He is my brother. The auditorium was silent now. Even the skeptical students seemed to be listening. You think humans are reckless for living with predators, but we do not see them as predators. We see them as friends who chose to stand with us instead of against us. Every dog has the genetic memory of being a wolf, of being a hunter. But they choose every single day to be gentle with us, to protect instead of harm, to love instead of hunt. Junho clicked to the next section of his presentation. Dogs are not the only animals we partnered with. We also domesticated horses, cats, cattle, chickens, goats, sheep, and dozens of other species. We even partnered with insects. Bees make honey for us and pollinate our crops. Silkworms make silk. We learned to work with the dangerous world around us instead of trying to eliminate every threat. He showed a video of a horse letting a small child sit on its back. The horse was massive, easily capable of killing the child with one kick, but it stood perfectly still, gentle and patient. This is what you fear. This is what you call dangerous. But humans learned something important on our death world. The strongest bonds require trust. Real trust. Not obedience programmed into genes, but choice. Every day these animals choose to stay with us. They could run away. They could attack. But they do not because the bond is real. Yuna, the crystalline student, raised a shimmering appendage. But what about safety? Your animal attacked Professor Velric. Rex defended me, Junho corrected. There is a difference. He thought the professor was a threat. Once I told him everything was okay, he stopped immediately. That is training. That is trust. He trusted my judgment over his instincts. Training can fail, Vesh called out. Yes, Junho admitted. Sometimes it does. Sometimes there are accidents. Life on Earth is not perfectly safe. But it is real. We accept risk because the reward is worth it. The bond we have with dogs has made both species stronger. Humans learned loyalty, responsibility, and unconditional love from dogs. Dogs learned to communicate with a completely different species, to understand our emotions, to become part of our world. He clicked to his final slide. It showed a chart comparing Earth animals to their galactic equivalents. Most species in the galaxy domesticated small, gentle creatures. You engineered them to be docile. You removed all danger. But you also removed all choice. Your companions cannot choose to leave because they were made to stay. Our companions stay because they want to. Junho looked out at the audience, trying to see their faces through the bright lights. I understand why Rex scared you. I understand why you think humans are reckless. But we are not. We simply understand something you have forgotten. The greatest strength comes from diversity, from cooperation, from bonds forged through choice rather than design. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived by refusing to face it alone. We made allies out of enemies. We made family out of predators. That is not weakness. That is the greatest strength humanity has. The auditorium was completely silent. Junho did not know if that was good or bad. Then slowly someone started to clap. It was Unji standing in the back. Then Minho joined her. Then surprisingly Soman, one of the Phalanite students who usually avoided humans. One by one more students joined in. Not everyone. Professor Velric sat with his arms crossed, and Vesh looked annoyed. But more students were clapping than not. Dean Harmon stood up. "Thank you, Human Junho, that was enlightening. Does anyone have questions?" Hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose across the auditorium. Unyo took a deep breath. This was just the beginning. He had to make them understand, not just know. He had to show them that Earth's way was not wrong, just different, and somewhere in his special housing, Rex was waiting. Waiting with the patience that only a dog could have, trusting that his human. Unyo sat in a small waiting room outside the dean's office. Rex lay at his feet, calm now that they were alone. The dog's head rested on his paws, but his ears twitched at every sound in the corridor. Security guards stood by the door, watching Rex as if he might explode at any moment. Minho had brought Junho some food from the cafeteria, though Junho had little appetite. His whole future hung in balance. If they expelled him, all his dreams of becoming a xenobiologist would end. Worse, Earth's reputation would sink even lower in galactic opinion. "They have been in there for 3 hours, Minho said, checking his communicator again. "The tribunal is still deliberating. What do you think they will decide?" Minho hesitated. "Honestly, I think they will send you home." Rex scared them badly. "Professor Velric is one of the most respected teachers here. If they think you endangered him." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. The door finally opened. A tall being made of what looked like flowing water gestured for Junho to enter. This was Dean Harmon, the head of the academy. Nobody knew exactly what species he was. He had been running the academy for 300 years, and he never seemed to age. "Bring your animal," Dean Harmon said. His voice sounded like waves on a beach. Junho walked into the office with Rex at his side. The room was huge, with windows showing the stars beyond the station. Sitting around a long table were 7 beings. Professor Velric was there, his scales still slightly pale. Next to him sat Vesh, a prosecutor from the Galactic Council. She looked like a praying mantis, but twice as large and much more intimidating. "Human Junho," Vesh began, her voice sharp and clicking. "You stand accused of bringing a dangerous predator onto this station, endangering students and faculty and showing reckless disregard for safety protocols. How do you plead?" "Not guilty," Junho said firmly. "Rex is not dangerous. He is trained and loyal. He attacked Professor Velric," Vesh snapped. "He defended me when he perceived a threat." "There is a difference." Vesh made a sound like scissors cutting paper. It might have been laughter, but it was not friendly. "Let me understand this correctly. Your species, which has only been in space for 50 years, thinks it is qualified to judge what is and is not dangerous?" She activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air showing Earth. Bears walking through neighborhoods, snakes in glass containers, spiders the size of dinner plates, videos of sharks swimming near humans in cages, pictures of people riding horses which looked like they could kick someone's head off with ease. "Your species keeps predators as pets," Vesh continued. "You invite apex hunters into your homes. You allow them near your young. You even..." She paused as if she could not believe it. "Let them sleep in your beds." "Dogs are not just pets," Junho said. "They are partners. They have been part of human society for 40,000 years. 40,000 years of insanity," Vesh replied. "Other species outgrew such dangerous practices. We learned to engineer docile companions. We created creatures that would never harm us. But humans? You enslaved predators and called it friendship. We did not enslave them," Junho said, his voice rising slightly. "We formed a partnership." "There is a difference," "Explain," Dean Harmon said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken. Junho took a deep breath. He had prepared for this. "Dogs are descended from wolves. Wolves are pack hunters, one of the deadliest predators on Earth. But thousands of years ago, some wolves started following human tribes. They ate our leftovers. Over time, the friendliest wolves stayed closer to humans. The aggressive ones were driven away." "So you admit they are predators," Vesh interrupted. "Yes, but listen, humans and wolves helped each other. Wolves have better senses than humans. They can smell and hear things we cannot. They warned us of danger. They helped us hunt. In return, we gave them food and shelter. Over time, we did not just tame them. We became family." Professor Velric spoke for the first time. "Family? With a creature that has the power to kill you?" "Yes," Junho said simply. He looked at Rex, who was watching him with those trusting brown eyes. "Rex would die for me. And I would die for him. That is what family means." The room was silent for a moment. Then the door opened again and another human entered. Yunyo recognized her immediately. Yunji was a senior researcher in the xenobiology department, one of the few humans who had made a real name for themselves in galactic science. "Dean Harmon," she said, bowing slightly, "I have the data you requested. Present it to the tribunal," the dean said. Yunji activated her own holographic display. What appeared made several of the tribunal members shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world," Yunji began. "For comparison, most species in this room evolved on Class 3 or Class 4 worlds. Earth has gravity 1.3 times galactic standard. Its atmosphere is highly corrosive to many species. It experiences extreme temperature variations. It has violent weather patterns including hurricanes, tornadoes, and tsunamis." More images appeared. Volcanoes erupting, earthquakes splitting the ground, lightning storms that looked like the sky was being torn apart. "The microbiome alone would kill most galactic species within hours," Yunji continued. "Earth is filled with bacteria, viruses, and parasites that have evolved to be incredibly aggressive. The planet itself is actively hostile to life." "We know this," Vesh said impatiently. "What is your point?" "My point is that almost every creature on Earth would be considered dangerous by galactic standards. Humans live alongside bears, big cats, venomous snakes, poisonous spiders, and sharks. We have mosquitoes that spread deadly diseases. We have plants that can kill with a touch. We have weather that can freeze or boil us. We even have other humans. And we are persistence hunters with opposable thumbs and problem-solving intelligence." She paused to let that sink in. "Humans did not domesticate dogs because we were safe. We domesticated them because we were not. On Earth, you need allies to survive. Every species humans have domesticated was once a threat or a tool or both. Horses can kill with their kicks, but they let us ride them. Falcons are aerial predators, but they hunt for us. Even cattle are massive animals that could easily injure us, yet we herd them." "This is madness," Professor Velric said. "How did your species survive?" "By being adaptable," Yunji answered. "By making friends with our enemies. By turning predators into partners." She pulled up another image. It showed a young human child no more than 5 years old asleep on a large dog. The dog's mouth could easily have fit around the child's entire head, but instead the animal was gently breathing, keeping the child warm. "This is what you fear," Yunji said. "This is what you call dangerous. A bond so strong that a predator becomes a protector. A friendship so deep that both species changed over thousands of years to better understand each other. Rex was bred for protection and companionship," Junho added. "His ancestors guarded sheep from wolves and bears. They pulled injured soldiers from battlefields. They guide humans who cannot see. They detect diseases humans cannot smell. They comfort people who are sad or scared. This is not slavery. This is partnership." Vesh was not convinced. He still attacked Professor Velric. "Because the professor made a sudden movement toward me," Junho said. "Rex thought I was in danger. He was protecting his pack, his family. Would you not do the same?" "I would not need to," Vesh replied. "My companion is genetically designed to be gentle." "Exactly," Junho said. "Your companion has no choice. It was made to obey. Rex chooses to stay with me. Every day he chooses loyalty. That makes it real." Dean Harmon raised one fluid appendage. "Enough, I have heard sufficient arguments. The tribunal will now deliberate. Human Junho, you will wait outside." Junho and Rex were led back to the waiting room. Yunji followed them, giving Junho an encouraging nod. "You did well," she said. "Did I? I am not sure they understood." "They understood. They are just scared. Most galactic species gave up dangerous partnerships millions of years ago. They engineered safety into everything. They forgot that real bonds require risk. What do you think they will decide?" Yunji looked at Rex, who had curled up at Junho's feet again. "I think it depends on whether they value safety or strength, whether they respect obedience or loyalty." An hour passed, then another. Junho dozed off in his chair, exhausted from stress. He woke to find Minho shaking his shoulder. "They are calling you back." Junho stood, his heart pounding. Rex immediately came alert, sensing his human's anxiety. Together they walked back into the office. All 7 tribunal members were standing. Dean Harmon spoke first. "We have reviewed the evidence and arguments. This tribunal has reached a decision." Junho held his breath. "Human Junho, you are not expelled. However, you are prohibited from bringing your animal to any more classes. Rex must be secured in special housing when not under your direct supervision. You will also give a mandatory presentation on Earth's domestication practices to the entire student body. Relief flooded through Junho, but it was mixed with frustration. Rex is not dangerous if people understand him. Perhaps, Dean Harmon said. But this station was not designed for Earth creatures. We must think of everyone's safety. I understand. There is one more thing, Vesh added, and her tone made Junho nervous. The Galactic Council has opened an investigation into Earth's domestication practices. The classroom was unlike anything found on Earth. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and the seats adjusted themselves to fit students of every shape and size. Some students had scales, others had feathers, and a few floated in special containers filled with colored gas. Yunyo sat in the back row, trying not to draw attention to himself. He was one of only 3 humans at the Galactic Xenobiology Academy. Getting accepted had been the proudest moment of his life. His parents back on Earth had thrown a huge party. But now, 6 months into the program, Junho was starting to wonder if he had made a mistake. Professor Velric entered the room, his reptilian body moving with smooth grace. His scales shimmered green and gold under the lights. He was a saurine, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. His people had been exploring space when humans were still learning to make fire. Students, Professor Velric said, his voice carrying easily across the room. Today I announce your final practical examination. The room went silent. Every student leaned forward, even those who did not have traditional bodies. Final exams at the academy were serious business. They could make or break a career in xenobiology. Each of you will present a tamed beast from your homeworld, the professor continued. You will demonstrate the bond between your species and the creature. You will show us how your people have mastered the art of domestication. Excited whispers filled the room. Yuna, a crystalline student from Litheos, literally sparkled with excitement. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors with her emotions. Right now she glowed bright pink. I will bring a star moth, she announced to her friends. They are so beautiful and gentle. My family has bred them for 2,000 years. Karis, whose insect-like body clicked and chittered, nodded his approval. I shall bring a song beetle. It makes the most wonderful music. Junho stayed quiet. He knew what was coming. And what about you, human? Professor Velric's eyes fixed on him. What will you bring? Does your young species even have proper tamed beasts? Several students laughed. It was not mean laughter exactly, but it was not kind either. Earth was known as a backwards planet, a death world where everything was trying to kill everything else. The other students assumed humans were too busy surviving to develop proper civilization. I will bring my family's companion animal. Professor, Junho said quietly. Oh, how sweet, Yuna said, her crystalline voice tinkling like bells. Humans have pets. I did not know that. What is it? Asked Karis. Something small and furry? A rodent, perhaps? Something like that, Junho answered, keeping his face neutral. After class, Junho walked back to his dormitory with Minho, the only other human in his year. Minho was studying xenobotany, the science of alien plants, but their schedules often overlapped. You are bringing Rex, aren't you? Minho asked. Yes, are you insane? Rex is not exactly a classroom-friendly animal. Junho shrugged. The assignment says to bring a companion animal from home. Rex is our family's companion animal. Junho, these aliens have never seen a dog before. They have certainly never seen a German shepherd. Rex weighs more than most of their entire species. He has fangs. He is a predator. He is also loyal, smart, and well-trained. Minho sighed. Your funeral. Just do not be surprised when they panic. Over the next 2 weeks, Junho made arrangements. Getting Rex shipped from Earth to the Academy station was complicated and expensive. His parents had to get special permits. The shipping company required detailed scans and safety protocols. They kept asking if Junho was sure he wanted to transport a dangerous predator across space. But finally, the day of the presentations arrived. The demonstration hall was large and circular with seats rising up on all sides. It reminded Junho of ancient Roman amphitheaters he had seen in history classes. In the center was a flat space where students would present their animals. Yuna went first. She opened a small, elegant box, and a creature emerged that looked like a butterfly made of starlight. It was tiny, no bigger than Junho's hand, with wings that left trails of glowing dust in the air. The star moth danced through the air, responding to Yuna's soft commands. It landed on her crystalline shoulder and seemed to sing, though Junho could not hear any sound. The class applauded politely. Professor Velric nodded his approval. Excellent. 2,000 years of careful breeding have created a perfect companion. Next, Karis presented his song beetle. It was a beautiful insect the size of a cat, with a shell that reflected rainbow colors. When Karis stroked its antennae, it produced sounds like a flute and a harp combined, peaceful and lovely. More presentations followed. Horval, a tentacled student from an ocean world, brought an aquatic creature that created beautiful patterns in a tank of water. Sienna, who was made of floating gas, brought something that looked like a living cloud that changed shapes on command. Every creature was small. Every creature was gentle. Every creature had been bred for countless generations to be peaceful and obedient. Then it was Junho's turn. He stood up, and 2 service robots wheeled in a large crate. It was made of reinforced metal with warning labels in multiple languages. The crate was taller than Junho and easily 3 meters long. The whisper started immediately. What is that? Why is it in a cage? Look at those warning symbols. Professor Velric's eyes narrowed. Human Junho, what exactly have you brought to my classroom? Juno walked to the crate and entered a code. The locks clicked open with loud sounds that echoed in the suddenly quiet hall. He opened the door slowly. Rex emerged from the crate and several students screamed. The German Shepherd was magnificent. His black and tan coat gleamed under the lights. He stood at shoulder height to Junho, which made him enormous compared to most of the other students' creatures. His ears stood up, alert and focused. His eyes scanned the room, taking in all the strange sights and smells. But what really scared the other students were Rex's teeth. When he panted, his tongue hanging out, they could see his fangs clearly, sharp, white, and designed for one purpose: killing. By the ancient stars, Una whispered, her crystal body turning pale white. It is a predator. An apex predator. Rex's eyes were forward-facing, unlike the prey animals the other students had brought. Every xenobiology student knew what that meant. Forward-facing eyes meant hunter. It meant this creature had evolved to chase, catch, and kill. It has weapons in its mouth, Karis chittered, backing away from the demonstration floor. Junho remained calm. He put his hand on Rex's head, and the dog sat immediately, though his eyes never stopped watching the room. This is Rex, Junho said simply. He is a dog. Dogs have been humanity's companions for 40,000 years. 40,000 years of keeping a predator? Professor Velric's voice was sharp with disbelief and something that might have been fear. Yes, Professor. Would you like to see what he can do? Before the professor could answer, Rex's attention snapped to something. Another student, Taven, had dropped his bag, and the sudden noise startled the dog. Rex's ears went flat. A low growl rumbled from his chest, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the floor itself. Professor Velric, curious despite his concern, stepped closer to get a better look at this strange creature. He moved quickly, his reptilian reflexes fast. It was the wrong thing to do. Rex saw a large predator moving toward his human. His instincts, honed over millions of years of evolution, kicked in. He barked once, a sound like thunder in the enclosed space, and lunged forward. Students scattered. Yuna's crystal body made a sound like breaking glass as she teleported to safety. Karis flew upward on buzzing wings. Horval pulled his tentacles into a tight ball. Rex's jaws snapped inches from Professor Velric's face. The professor fell backward, his scales flashing from green to white in terror. Rex, heal! Junho's command cut through the chaos. Rex immediately stopped, turned, and trotted back to Junho's side, sitting at his feet as if nothing had happened. His tail even wagged slightly, but the damage was done. Security alarms blared. Armed guards burst into the room. Professor Velric was helped to his feet by other faculty members, his body shaking. That creature attacked me, the professor gasped. It tried to kill me. He was protecting me, Junho said quietly, one hand on Rex's head. He thought you were a threat. Get that monster out of here, Professor Velric ordered. Get it off this station. Human Junho, you are suspended pending a full investigation. You brought a dangerous wild animal into a classroom. You put everyone at risk. Security guards surrounded Junho and Rex, keeping their weapons pointed at the dog. Rex growled again, sensing the threat, but Junho's hand tightened on his collar. It is okay, boy, Junho whispered. It is okay. As they led him out of the demonstration hall, Junho could hear the other students talking. Humans keep predators as pets? Earth must be even more dangerous than we thought. They live with those things? I heard humans are predators too. Forward-facing eyes, remember? Minho was waiting in the corridor, his face grim. I tried to warn you. I know, Junho said. He looked down at Rex, who looked back up at him with trusting brown eyes. But he is family. What else could I do?